Are you thinking of making a pair of cozy mittens, slippers, or other fun crafts out of an upcycled sweater? I'm Jan Howell. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm all about showing you lots of tips and tricks and ways to make all your DIY projects a little easier, less complicated, and I may even save you a little money. Before you cut into that sweater, make sure you watch the whole video because I'm going to be going over how to choose the right kind of sweater, tips for colors, textures, and cutting your pieces out for your projects. I'm going to show you exactly how to wash, felt, and prep your wool sweaters and other sweaters for your crafting and sewing projects. In previous tutorials, I've shown you how to make mittens, balls, hats, slippers, and all kinds of things. And I'll put the link in the description below where you can find those tutorials. There are so many fun things that you can make with this sweater material. So without any further ado, let's get started. The first thing you'll need to do is to find some wool sweaters. So where do you get a wool sweater? First place would be to check your own closet. You may have a sweater in there that you don't realize that you have or that you're not wearing that you could use. Thrift stores are a great place to pick up a sweater at a good price. Garage sales and yard sales are one of my favorite places to pick up a good wool sweater. You can usually pick one up for 50 cents up to $5, and sometimes they'll even give them away. Clearance racks and clothing stores are another good place to find a good sweater and at a good price. Some things to look for when you're getting a sweater for craft projects is to make sure that it's 80% or higher in wool content. That way it will felt down and shrink down like you want it to. Inspect the sweater for moth holes and stains. I like to have a variety of colors to choose from when I'm making wool sweater projects. Sometimes you'll come across a sweater that is a great color or has great design. Make sure that you pick it up because you may not come across it again, and some colors of sweaters are really hard to come by. So if you find a good one, grab it. Get sweaters with varieties of textures and weights. All sweaters have different textures and they're going to felt differently. So you want to make sure that you have a variety for different projects that you're doing. Like cashmere sweaters, they're really thin, they're thinner, and they work great for linings of mittens and slippers, where a more dense sweater to start with is going to even felt down really thick. You want to maximize your fabric. So what I mean by that is go to the men's section and see if you can find a large sweater. Sometimes you're lucky you can even find an extra large sweater. That way you're getting a lot of sweater for the same price. Don't be afraid, however, to check out the children's section and the baby section. Even though they're going to felt down to smaller sizes, sometimes you can find some really cute stripes or fun colors in the baby and children's section. Let's go over how to felt your wool sweaters. What is felting? Felting is taking a high content wool sweater, adding hot water, a little agitation that will shrink the fabric down, make the weave more dense, which makes it cozy and warm, perfect for your crafting and sewing projects. You are going to love what this feels like, and I'm going to go over that process with you now. Here's a before and after shot of a sweater that I felted. To felt your sweaters by the washing machine, there's a few tips I'd like to give you. First of all, wash your sweaters with like colors. You don't want to wash a light colored sweater with a dark colored sweater, or else you're going to get a different colored sweater when you end up. The lint seems to adhere to each other and you'll end up with the wrong colored sweater. Set your washing machine to the highest hot setting. Add only a small amount of laundry soap, especially if you're just shrinking down one sweater. You'll want to check it at least every 5 minutes to make sure that it's not over shrinking. I've had a really nice sweater and just put it in the washing machine and it shrunk down way too much. I wasn't able to really use it because it was so dense and thick. So just check it every few minutes or every 5 minutes to make sure that it's not over shrinking. If your sweater is felted to your liking, if you like how it, after you've washed it, if you like the thickness, just lay it flat to dry. If you want more shrinking, then go ahead and throw it in the dryer and check, and then you'll want to check it frequently as well to make sure that it's not over shrinking. To felt your sweater by hand, which takes a little bit more work and a little more effort, you do have a little bit more control of the shrinking process, but I usually don't use this method. I just use a washing machine. But if you want to do this, here are a few tips. Use a clean tub or a sink or a basin with the hottest water that you can. And just, again, a little bit of liquid soap works a little bit better because it will suds up better than a powder. So if you have a scrubbing board, that's great. If you don't, no worries. You can just use your hands. Go ahead and just start rubbing and scrubbing and agitating the sweater to work the fibers until you get it to the consistency that you like. Go ahead and rinse it really well and make sure all the soap is out. And then you can throw it in the dryer if you want a little more shrinking, or go ahead and once again just lay it flat to dry. Now that you have washed and dried your sweater, it's time to cut it up and either store it or use it for some of your craft projects. So if there are any buttons or hardware on your sweaters, you'll want to remove those and save your buttons. They'll come in handy for something else. Just start by turning your sweater inside out, exposing the seams. Take a pair of good fabric scissors and start cutting down one of the side seams. You want to cut as close to the center of that side of the seam as you can. And just cut around the sleeve seam. So you're disassembling and taking off the sleeve. Just go ahead and set that aside. Then cut one of the shoulder seams. And depending on what the collar's like, sometimes you'll have to cut around the collar or just cut both shoulder seams over to the other sleeve seam and then cut out the other armhole to remove the other sleeve. Setting the sleeves aside for just a moment. You won't want to cut the other side seam. So just because you might need a project that needs a bigger piece. Go ahead and fold up your fabric. Take your sleeves and just cut down the sleeve seam. So that opens it up so you have access to another big piece of felted wool. When you are cutting out your sweaters, if you notice any moth holes or any stains, you can just simply take some masking tape or some painter's tape, rip a piece off, and place it over the hole. That way, when you are cutting out a project, you're not going to cut out a pattern piece that has a hole in it. So if you're like me, you may start acquiring a few sweaters. And you'll want to store them in a safe place away from pest and moisture. You'll want to get some containers to put your sweaters in. Plastic bins work really well with nice tight-fitting lids. And as a natural moth repellent, essential oils or herbs are really great. So some essential oils that work well for repelling moths are peppermint oil, thyme, cedarwood, lavender, and rosemary. So you can take some of those oils and dab it on some cotton balls and place those throughout your storage bins. Get some dried lavender and put it in a cotton sachet and store that in your bins. Get a bin also for the little pieces, the smaller pieces, the scraps of the wool sweaters. Now, there's really not a sweater piece that is too small. I'll be showing you some projects of things to use, little small pieces, and even the little scraps that you don't think you can cut anything out, save those because you can make dryer balls out of those. A felted wool sweater is a great fabric to work with because it does not fray. It's not necessary to hem, so it reduces a lot of bulk and time when you're making a wool sweater project. Now, there are times when you can use a mixed fiber sweater, like a sweater that has a lot of cotton or synthetic fibers that won't shrink down when you wash it, but they still can come in handy and make some fun things. You'll just need to either overlock the edges or use a zigzag stitch along the edges so the seams will not fray. So there's different weights of sweaters and textures, especially after you felt them and shrink them down. This is a really dense sweater that would work really nice on the sole of a slipper or slipper boot, like shown here, or a bag or something that needs a little more structure to it. Medium weight sweaters work really nice for projects like a scarf, a skirt, a hat, slippers, or mittens. You'll want to use the same type of sweater or texture in a project. So you wouldn't want to use something really bulky and then the other part really thin, unless it was something to call for that. This is a poncho made from a cashmere sweater that is really light and flowing and cozy and soft. Cashmere sweaters are great to pick up and find and use for clothing items. They will shrink down, but they don't really shrink down to a tight weave. When you're cutting pattern pieces out with your felted wool, you want to put your pattern pieces as close together as possible to maximize your fabric. Oh, the love of wool fabric pieces. Look at what you can make with just a little piece of fabric. I'm just going to show a little video clip of my cuff bin. Look at all the sweater cuffs that I've saved, different colors. These cuffs will come in handy for a lot of fun projects. I love this green one with the gray on the bottom. This will make a cute cuff on a sweater boot or a sweater slipper. See how I've used a cuff on a sweater, a sleeve cuff on this little sweater boot. And of course the mittens. The sweater cuffs come in really handy because they have a finished edge and they're stretchy and they usually have a lot of character to them. So save your cuffs. I've saved this green sweater. Although it's not wool, I thought this would come in handy for a cuff or a binding of some kind. And it has a lot of nice stretch to it and it just feels good. So I've saved, and it's also a good color. So I've saved that into my bin. I'm going to show you how to use the bottom finished edge of a sweater. This will come in handy for a lot of projects where you need a little bit more fabric than just the sleeves. You can make a stocking hat to look like something that you've crocheted or knitted yourself. That bottom cuff edge works really nice. And that's all there is to it. Now your sweaters are prepped and ready for you to dive into whatever upcycled project that you want to. Be sure to check out the links in the description below of other videos and tutorials where I show you how to actually make some of these projects, and check out my website youmakeitsimple.com where you'll find patterns, tutorials, and other fun DIY projects. If you like my content, make sure you subscribe to my channel and click on that bell so you can be notified when I put new projects up. And as always, if you have a question or concern, leave a comment in the section below. And if you want to check out all the products and things that I recommend in my sewing and crafty room, check those out as well. Have a wonderful day. Have fun making something cozy and warm with your upcycled sweaters. And we'll see you in the next tutorial.